I opened the door with a big smile, wearing my best dress. It was my birthday, and I had planned everything to be perfect. But when I saw my husband standing there, my heart dropped. He wasn't alone. A young woman stood beside him, too close, smiling too much. "This is Clara," he said, like it was nothing. "She's a colleague." But the way she touched his arm, the way he looked at her, it told a different story. I felt the air leave my body, but I smiled. People were arriving behind them. I couldn't make a scene. Not yet. He thought I didn't know. He thought he could walk into my house on my birthday with his mistress and get away with it. I stood there, letting them in, greeting guests, thanking them for coming. I didn't let my face show anything. I was calm, but inside something hard settled. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to end him. All week I had been planning this party alone. He didn't help. He didn't ask. He didn't care. So I made it special myself. I had food, drinks, music, decorations. I even designed the cake myself. Everything was meant to feel warm, happy, full of love. But now I had a new purpose. I watched them during the party. She laughed too loudly at his jokes. He brushed her hand when he thought no one saw. But I saw. And every little move they made, every look they shared, added fuel to the fire inside me. I kept smiling, chatting with friends, thanking family for coming. My best friend came up to me, eyes wide. "Who is that?" she asked quietly. "Later," I whispered. "Just wait for dessert." I stayed close to the kitchen, keeping the cake hidden until the right moment. I wasn't going to waste my pain on a fight. I was going to make a memory no one would forget. He was laughing, enjoying himself, thinking he was clever, thinking I was blind. But I was watching everything. He walked into a party, but I was preparing something else. A night he would never forget. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't show my pain. Not yet. I waited. I planned. And when the time was right, I was going to serve him exactly what he gave me, but sweeter. 1 week before the party, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and a pen. I had planned every detail myself. My husband didn't ask if I wanted a party. He never did. Every year, I waited for him to remember, but he never made the effort. This year, I decided I wouldn't wait. I planned my own birthday. I told myself it was for fun, for friends, for laughter. But deep down, I needed more than a party. I needed the truth to come out. I booked a caterer to handle the food. I ordered drinks, set up lights, cleaned every corner of the house. I picked the playlist and sent out the invitations. I invited our friends, my family, and even more of his. I wanted everyone there. I wanted people to see us. Not the fake version of us, but the truth I had discovered. The cake was important. I worked on the design myself. It was beautiful, white and gold, elegant but simple. People would think it was just a cake, but it wasn't. It was the center of everything. I gave special instructions to the bakery. I knew exactly what I was putting inside. I didn't want just a sweet ending. I wanted a sharp one. We had been married for 7 years. In the beginning, we were happy. Or at least I thought we were. I supported him when he wanted to quit his job and start his own business. I worked long hours while he chased his dream. I paid the bills, kept the house running, and believed in him even when no one else did. When his business finally grew, I quit my job to help him full-time. I never asked for anything in return. I just wanted us to be a team. But something changed. A few months ago, he started acting different. He came home later. He was always on his phone, smiling at messages he wouldn't show me. He got new clothes, started going to the gym again, and bought expensive cologne. At first, I thought he was just stressed or trying to take care of himself. I didn't want to believe something was wrong. Then one night, his phone buzzed while he was in the shower. I wasn't trying to spy, but the message lit up, and I saw a name I didn't recognize. The words were too personal, too familiar. I didn't say anything that night. I needed more than one message. I needed to be sure. Over the next few weeks, I watched. I checked his phone when I could. I saw more messages, late-night chats, even photos. My hands shook every time, but I stayed quiet. I wasn't going to confront him without proof. I started collecting everything. I made copies, saved images, wrote down times and dates. And then I planned the party. Now, with everything ready, I smiled at him every day like nothing was wrong. I kissed him goodnight, asked about his work, played the part of a loving wife. He thought I knew nothing, but I knew everything. And soon, everyone else would too. The house filled with voices and music. People walked in smiling, holding gifts and bottles of wine. The lights were warm, the decorations soft and pretty. I welcomed every guest with a hug. I laughed when they wished me happy birthday. I smiled in every photo they asked for. To everyone else, it looked like a perfect evening, but I felt cold inside. I saw him across the room, standing close to her. She wore a short red dress and heels too high for comfort. She laughed at everything he said, touching his arm again and again. He didn't stop her. He leaned in when she whispered something. They looked too comfortable, like they forgot they weren't alone. I kept smiling, pretending not to notice. People took photos. We posed for group pictures. I stood next to him. He put his arm around my shoulder, and she stood just behind him like a shadow. I could feel her watching me. I could feel her thinking I didn't know. But I knew. I saw everything. My best friend came up to me. Her eyes were sharp, her smile tight. She leaned close and asked, "Who is that girl? Why is he acting like that?" I held her hand and gave a small smile. "Just trust me," I whispered. "Wait for dessert." She stared at me for a second, then gave a small nod. She didn't ask more. She knew me well enough to see something was happening. But I needed time. I wasn't ready yet. Everything had to be right. As the night went on, I watched them. At the table, she sat too close. Her knee touched his. He didn't move. When he thought no one saw, he touched her hand. He whispered something that made her giggle. He looked proud of himself, like a boy getting away with a secret. I saw him glance at me once. He smirked. He thought I was too busy with guests, too trusting, too blind. I walked past them without looking. I didn't say a word. I didn't let my face show a thing. But inside, my heart beat louder than the music. I counted the minutes. The cake was hidden in the back, where no one could see it yet. I found the caterer and gave a quiet instruction. "Don't bring out the cake until I say so." He nodded and went back to the kitchen. Guests kept talking and drinking. Someone gave a toast. Everyone laughed. He laughed the loudest. She touched his shoulder again, like she belonged there, like I was the guest in my own house. But I stayed still. I didn't break. I didn't cry. They were too busy enjoying their little game. They didn't notice me watching. They didn't know I had already made my move. Soon they would find out. A few weeks ago, things started to feel different. He wasn't acting like the man I married. He stopped talking to me the way he used to. He stayed out longer, saying work was busy, saying meetings ran late. He started going to the gym more, something he never cared about before. He began dressing better, using cologne again, and spending more time on his phone than with. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I told myself he might just be stressed or tired. But the more I watched, the more I felt something was wrong. He became cold. He wouldn't look me in the eyes. He smiled less when I spoke. He touched me less. I felt like I was slowly disappearing from his life. One day while doing laundry, I found a receipt in the pocket of his jacket. It was for a set of lingerie from a store I didn't shop at. The items were small, not my size. My hands shook as I held the paper. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. Maybe a gift for a friend, maybe something else. But in my heart, I knew better. I didn't ask him about it. I wanted to, but I needed more than a receipt. I needed the truth to show itself, and I knew it would. I started watching more closely. I paid attention to everything. His schedule, his mood, the way he spoke. Nothing felt real anymore. One night, he came home late. He had clearly been drinking. I helped him into bed. He didn't even look at me. He mumbled something as he lay down, almost asleep. One word. A name. It wasn't mine. I sat up in bed, frozen. That moment felt like ice in my chest. He didn't even know he'd said it. He just rolled over and slept peacefully. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling like I couldn't breathe. The next morning, I decided to stop waiting. I installed a tracker on his phone. I hated myself for it, but I had to know. A part of me still hoped I was wrong, but I wasn't. That Wednesday, I watched his location from my phone. He said he was going to a meeting downtown. I saw him drive past that area and stop near a hotel. He stayed there for over 2 hours. My hands were cold as I stared at the screen. I sat in the car, parked nearby. I watched the entrance. He came out with her. She wore a coat over her dress, but I recognized her right away. I had seen her photo on his phone once, saved under a fake name. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt numb. They didn't see me. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't take pictures. I didn't need more. I had all I needed. It was over. Not the marriage yet, but something in me had ended. I drove home without thinking. I sat in the dark in my living room for a long time. At first, I felt pain. Then I felt tired. Then I felt angry. He didn't just cheat. He used my love. He used my time. He let me believe we were still something when I was just a cover. I didn't cry again after that day. I started making notes. I wrote down the date, the time, what I saw. I made a folder. I saved screenshots of his messages. I kept records. I didn't tell anyone. I smiled when he came home. I asked about his day. I let him think I didn't know. But I knew. And I was planning. After I knew the truth, I didn't waste any more time feeling sorry. I needed to be smart. I didn't want to scream or beg. I wanted to end this on my terms. Quietly, clearly, in a way no one would forget. I started by gathering proof. I waited for moments when he left his phone on the table or fell asleep. I went through his messages, taking screenshots of everything. There were texts with her photos, little notes that showed just how close they were. He never even bothered to hide it well. He thought I'd never look. That was his mistake. I found messages where he made fun of me, said I was too trusting, said I didn't notice a thing. I saved those too. I took pictures of his location history, showing visits to the same hotel again and again. I knew what it meant, but now I had the kind of proof people couldn't deny. One night, I asked him simple questions. I wanted to hear how he'd answer. He was tired and careless. I gently pushed the topic of our marriage, our routine, how we had changed. He started complaining. He said he felt unseen, that he missed excitement. He didn't say her name, but I recorded the whole call from another phone in my pocket. With everything collected, I created a folder. I named it For Everyone Wondering. Inside it, I placed all the screenshots, pictures, and voice recording. It was organized and easy to follow. I uploaded it to Dropbox and made sure the link was open to anyone. Now, I just needed a way to share it, quietly but publicly. I thought about emails, about printing pictures, about group texts. But then I had a better idea. A sweet one. Simple, soft, and impossible to ignore. I called the bakery and asked if they could do something special. I wanted a beautiful cake. White buttercream, gold trim, 3 layers. It had to look clean, perfect, like something made for a celebration. They agreed. Then I asked if they could place something inside each slice, a small square made of edible paper. They were confused, but I explained. I sent them the image of a QR code that led straight to the Dropbox folder. They said it was unusual, but they could do it. I told them to keep it quiet. It was part of a surprise. I felt calm after that. I had made my plan, and it was in motion. He would walk into the party thinking it was just a cake, just another event where I smiled and stayed silent. But when people scanned that code, they would see the truth for themselves. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to explain. I just had to wait. The cake would do the talking. I watched him laugh at me. He was sitting with her again, too close, too familiar. She whispered something in his ear, and he laughed loud enough for people nearby to hear. Then he looked straight at her and said, "She's so gullible. I could cheat in her bed and she'd iron the sheets after." He laughed again. She laughed with him, and I just stood there. Something inside me cracked, not like glass, but like a rope finally snapping after being pulled too tight for too long. I didn't feel hurt anymore. I didn't feel like crying. I felt calm, cold, clear. He didn't care if anyone heard. He didn't care that I might be nearby. He thought I was somewhere in the room playing the role of the sweet wife, too blind to know what was right in front of me. He was wrong. I knew. I had known for weeks. And I had been waiting for the perfect moment. This was it. I didn't make a scene. I didn't say a word. I just looked across the room and caught my best friend's eyes. She noticed something was different. She walked over quickly and studied my face. "It's time, isn't it?" she asked quietly. I nodded. Yes. She didn't ask anything else. She knew me well enough to see I wasn't playing games anymore. I walked to the center of the room, my heels clicking on the floor, my heart steady. I raised my glass. The room was still buzzing, but slowly people began to turn and look at me. "Everyone," I said with a soft smile, "can I have your attention for just a moment?" The music was lowered. Conversation stopped. Faces turned toward me. All eyes were on me, including his. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight," I said. "It means a lot to have so many friends and family in one place." He smiled. She smiled. Everyone waited for the usual sweet birthday speech. I kept my voice calm. This year, I decided to do something a little different. I want to make a toast. A special one. People raised their glasses, ready to cheer. "To truth," I said. "To the kind of truth that hides behind smiles. The kind that lives in silence. The kind we all pretend not to see." A few people looked confused. He tilted his head slightly, watching me closer now. "And finally," I said, lifting my glass a little higher, "to dessert." I clapped my hands twice. The kitchen doors opened, and the cake was rolled out. White buttercream, gold trim, tall and perfect. People clapped and smiled. Some cheered. He clapped too, laughing like nothing was wrong. But I didn't laugh. I just stood there, smiling as the cake was placed in the center of the room. He thought this was the end of the party, but it was only the beginning. The room felt warm with laughter and voices. Everyone stood around the cake, smiling, clapping, and taking pictures. The candles were already lit. I didn't make a wish. I just looked at the faces around me, friends, family, people who thought this was just a birthday party. I looked at him. He still had that same smile, thinking he was safe. I picked up the knife and slowly cut the cake. It sliced cleanly, the layers soft and perfect. People were excited to taste it. I handed out slice after slice, one by one, keeping my smile calm. He got a piece. She got a piece. Everyone did. No one noticed anything strange, at first. Then someone near the back looked down at their slice and asked, "What's this little square?" A man beside her leaned over. "It's a QR code," he said. "Printed on paper. No, wait. It's edible." Another voice joined in. "I've never seen that before. Is it part of the decoration?" They were curious. Some started scanning it with their phones. I watched quietly, folding my hands in front of me. My heart was steady. I didn't rush. I didn't explain. One by one, heads dropped to screens. Then silence spread through the room. The kind that makes your skin tighten. The kind that means something big has just happened. Then came the gasps. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Another said, "Is this real?" A cousin near the middle of the room looked up from his phone and shouted, "Holy sh*T." All at once, people were looking at me, then at him, then back at their screens. Some looked shocked. Some looked angry. Some looked like they didn't know what to say. She froze. Her face turned pale. She stopped chewing and lowered her fork slowly, as if her body had locked up. He stood there, staring at his phone, then at me. His face turned red, then white, then red again. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. I stepped forward slowly, still smiling. I met his eyes. "I served you exactly what you gave me," I said. "But sweeter." He blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" I tilted my head slightly. "You like secrets, don't you? You enjoy playing games. But now, everyone's seen what you were hiding." He looked around. People were still staring at their phones, reading, scrolling, listening. Some were shaking their heads. His business partner was there. His aunt. His old college friend. All of them saw it now. Every message. Every photo. Every lie. "I trusted you," I said. "I gave you everything, and you gave me nothing but shame." He stepped toward me, trying to lower his voice. "You're blowing this out of." "No," I said firmly. "I'm not blowing anything up. I'm just letting the truth speak for itself. You handed me this story. I just put it in a nice box." She tried to speak, but no words came out. Her eyes filled with tears. She looked at the door, then back at him. He didn't move to stop her when she ran out. I looked around at the guests. Some looked at me with wide eyes, not sure what to do. Others gave small nods. My best friend came to stand beside me. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The room was full of silence, broken only by the quiet sound of phones buzzing. The cake sat in the center of the table, still sweet, still beautiful. But now, everyone knew what was hidden inside. People didn't know what to do next. They stood frozen, phones still in their hands, eyes wide. Slowly, they began to leave. Some slipped out quietly, avoiding eye contact. Others walked past me and gave a small nod or a sad smile. No one laughed. No one said happy birthday. They had seen enough. A few remained. One guest stepped toward him and said, "After everything she did for you, this?" My husband didn't respond. He looked like someone who had lost his balance and didn't know how to stand up again. Another guest just stared at him with disgust, then turned and walked away without speaking. His parents didn't move for a while. His mother's face was pale, her hand over her mouth. His father stood stiff, arms crossed, jaw tight. They didn't come to his defense. They didn't speak to me either. They simply watched, like they were trying to understand who their son really was. The woman he came with looked like she wanted to disappear. Her hands trembled as she picked up her purse. She avoided everyone's eyes, especially mine. He stepped toward her, maybe to explain, maybe to beg, but she stepped back quickly. "Don't ever speak to me again," she said sharply before walking out the door. His business partner was the last to speak. He stood off to the side, reading the files like everyone else had. When he finished, he looked at my husband with tight lips and cold eyes. "You lied to everyone, not just her. You lied to me too." He gave him one last look before leaving. Now it was just him and me. He looked around the space like he was waking up in a bad dream. The people were gone, the noise was gone, and so was the control he thought he had. He tried to say something. His lips moved, but no sound came out. I didn't wait. I walked to him and held out an envelope. He took it slowly, unsure. When he opened it, I watched his eyes move across the pages. Inside were signed divorce papers. I had included proof of everything I was legally taking, half of everything we had built. His hands trembled slightly as he held the papers. He looked up at me, completely speechless. "You always said I couldn't do anything without you," I said, keeping my voice steady. "You called me weak. You said I needed you to survive." I stepped closer, calm and certain. "But look at you now. And look at me." He didn't argue. He didn't apologize. He just stood there, quiet and still, holding the truth in his hand. I turned and walked away. Plates and cups were left on tables. The cake was cut, slices half finished. The space wasn't filled with celebration anymore. It was heavy with truth. He had shown everyone who he really was. I had simply given them the chance to see it. And now there was nothing left for him to hide behind. The house was still now. No voices, no footsteps, no more eyes watching. I sat at the table alone, a slice of cake on my plate. The same cake everyone had eaten, only this time, the truth had already been served. I picked up my fork and took a small bite. It was soft and sweet, just like I asked the baker to make it. But it didn't taste like celebration. It tasted like something done, something finished. For the first time in weeks, I felt a little lighter. My best friend walked back in and sat next to me. She didn't speak right away. She just looked at me, then at the mess left behind. "You good?" she asked quietly. I thought for a second. "No," I said. "But better." We sat in silence for a moment. Not the heavy kind, not the kind that makes your chest tight. It was the kind that felt clean, the kind that didn't need to be filled. I reached for my phone, opened my photo app, and copied the Dropbox link, the same one hidden inside the cake slices. Then I opened my social media and made a short post. No long message, no anger. Just 6 words. For those who missed the dessert. I added the link and hit post. Then I set the phone down and went back to my cake. That night, I slept without waking up. No thoughts chasing each other. No waiting for his key in the door. No checking my phone. Just sleep. By morning, the post had exploded. Comments poured in. Some from friends. Some from strangers. Messages of support, of shock, of people sharing their own stories. The link had made its way to places I didn't expect. People were listening, watching, reading. And then he started calling. His name lit up my screen again and again. He texted. He begged. He sent long messages. He tried to explain, to apologize, to spin it all into something smaller. Something forgivable. I didn't open a single one. He made his choices. Now he could sit with them. I got up, made coffee, and stood by the window. The sky was clear. The street was quiet. The morning felt simple and clean. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel powerful. But I felt peace. And that was enough for now. 6 months later, things had changed. She had moved into a new apartment. It was small, but it felt like home. No more pretending. No more living in the shadow of lies. She had her own space now, her own life. She had started her own business too, something that had always been a dream. It wasn't easy, but she loved every minute of it. It was hers to control, hers to build, and that felt good. Her ex's favorite leather chair was still there. It was now her dog's chew toy. The chair was old, torn in places, but she couldn't bring herself to throw it out. It was a reminder of everything that had happened. Every time her dog chewed on it, she just smiled. It was a reminder that she had moved on. People still messaged her. Some were old friends. Some were strangers who had seen her story. They thanked her for inspiring them. They said they'd found the strength to leave situations they weren't happy in, just like she had. It felt good to know that her story had made a difference. She didn't throw parties anymore. Not because she didn't want to, but because she realized she didn't need to. Life was quieter now, but it was peaceful. She didn't need to surround herself with people to feel good about herself. She found joy in small things, quiet evenings, walks with her dog, working on her business, and spending time with the people who really mattered. But every year, on her birthday, she baked a cake. Not a big, showy one, just a simple cake. She decorated it with care, just like she used to. She cut a slice and paused for a moment, looking at the center of the cake. It was a reminder of the day everything had changed. Not a sad memory, but one that marked the beginning of something better. She smiled as she took the first bite. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. She didn't need anyone's approval. She had learned that she could stand on her own, and that was enough. Things were different now. They were better, and she knew she was going to be okay.